Hey everybody. I was thinking about an article I saw yesterday, today, and then a couple days ago about Macaulay Culkin and his, I guess, girlfriend. They didn't say they were married. Brenda Song, both of them from TV shows. I remember her from, I think it was The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and of course Macaulay Culkin from all the Home Alone movies and a bunch of other stuff he did. Good Son, and which was a good movie with Elijah Wood from Lord of the Rings. Anyway, what was interesting is that they just had a baby. Brenda Song is Asian, and they brought up somebody posted an old interview that Macaulay Culkin had done from 2018 where he was talking about that. Yet my girlfriend is Asian on the Joe Rogan podcast. Macaulay Culkin said, "My girlfriend is Asian, so we're gonna have little Asian babies around. So little Sean Lennon babies going around, little cute Sean Lennon babies around." And Sean Lennon is, of course, the son of John Lennon, the former Beatle, and Yoko Ono, who was also Asian. So another Asian and white guy had a baby. Said they're gonna be little Sean Lennons, which was the name of their son, John Lennon and Yoko Ono. And then Macaulay Culkin went on to say that I can make Asian jokes because my girlfriend is Asian. And of course, that's, I don't recall hearing anything about it in 2018, about it being a negative, people being up in arms about it and bothered by it. And for me, it's problematic when you say stuff like that because you see it a lot. Well, I notice a lot being a black man, and you hear like people say, well, it's okay, my wife is black, or it's okay, my boyfriend or husband is black, and just a bunch. It doesn't, you don't get a free pass just because of your proximity to blackness. You don't get to, well, I know black people. I work with black people. We're cool, so I can say and do things that would normally be inappropriate that you recognize, but you say that you get a pass because you know these people. Not true. So, but even that's not what I was thinking about. What I was thinking about is, comedian Ali Wong was talking about in one of her comedy specials. It might have been the first one, but she was talking about how she's Asian, mixed. She's a mixed race Asian, but both parents were Asian, just different countries. And she was speaking about something I didn't know that they diced it up like that. But she was speaking about what she called fancy Asians, and the fancy Asians are the Japanese, the Chinese, all the which is interesting. Some of the more readily assimilated Asians, some of the Asians that seem to assimilate a little better into Western society for one reason or another. Could be financial, could be academic. I don't know, for any number of reasons. They seem to assimilate better, and those were the fancy Asians, she called them. And then Ali went on to say that she's part fancy Asian, because I believe she's part, I want to say Chinese, but I don't remember what she said. So I know she said she was part fancy Asian and part jungle Asian. And the jungle Asian was the Vietnamese, the Laotian, the Philippines. Those, she called those the jungle Asians, and the fancy Asians. And she said that she was part one and part of the other. And what I was thinking about in regard to both of those was, the comments that were made in 2018. While if it were me, if I was Asian, I would be offended by that, because like I said, I get offended by when people make jokes because of their proximity to blackness, as if it's all good because black people. Not cool. But what I thought about it was that I didn't hear anything from Brenda Song about it, and she's A, Asian, and B, she's his girlfriend, and she didn't have a problem with it, I don't imagine. So much so that later on, in 2021, where we are now, she had a baby with him. So it wasn't a deal breaker or a issue or nothing. So, and then I thought about it. I thought about the fancy Asian, and I thought about, okay, well, that's the fancy of the Asians, but what about fancy black people, the bourgeoisie, the talented tenth, the W.E.B. Du Bois, class of people. Then I thought about also Hispanic, the the well-to-do, the affluent, and I don't think that it's a matter of um, money. Sometimes I don't necessarily think it's a matter of money, but for some reason, it I don't know. It seems to me, and I could be way off base, and um, I'll do more research, of course, because it's interesting to me. But it seems to me that the fancy of the races don't seem to have as strong of a reaction to people doing stuff that I would say is offensive to their culture or offensive to their ethnicity. And I guess, another thing I had been thinking about for a little while now was cultural identity versus ethnic identity. And what I kind of mean by that is the cultural identity being who you grew up around, what you are most familiar with, what interactions you've had with society, sometimes in your household or in your schools or in your immediate environment, how you function and what you prefer to be around and prefer to do, listen to, eat, dress like, dance like, the everyday interactions you have versus your ethnic background, the larger picture, where you come from, what country, what your practices are, oftentimes what the religion is, things like that. And I think that a lot of times people may be ethnically one thing but culturally another. And I tend to find that people move more deeply, I guess, in their cultural identity than their ethnic identity. And you kind of see that more when people in the fancy areas, is like Ali wants, like the fancy Asians or the fancy um, bourgeoisie black people or the fancy Hispanics. In those areas, it doesn't seem to be offensive, and also some of the people seem to be culturally not the same as they are ethnically, and that may make it easier for assimilation if you are culturally more attuned to Western society. Then it can make it easier for you to move in those circles versus if you are culturally Asian, if you are culturally black, if you're culturally Hispanic, they tend not to assimilate as well. Um, and you also tend to be more protective of that culture, more protective of those beliefs, and more aware. I want to say more aware, more reactive to offenses to those things. Because, like I said, when I heard that, that he had said that, I'm like, yo, that's problematic. Because for me, you see it a lot of times where you have like, um, usually usually I see it with well, no, I've seen it both ways. Because here in my hometown, there was a guy who made some pretty. It was a racist statements, but it wasn't the most racist statement. He made a statement about not speaking Spanish. Um, it was something along the lines of not speaking Spanish in the kitchen or not speaking Spanish to the customers or at the register or something like that for a restaurant. Even and then he kind of backed it up and like, oh no, I'm not racist. My wife is Hispanic, and I'm like, that doesn't give you a pass or absolve you from racism. Believing as we do that the country is steeped in the ideology of white supremacy and racial superiority, that doesn't disappear just because of a woman you've fallen in love with or who fell in love with you. And I think it's the same thing. Like, oh, I can't possibly be racist because I I became friends or I had a child with or married someone of the ethnicity I'm accused of being racist against. And I think that that's very interesting that you think that somehow unlearn and unlearn and somehow absolve yourself in the waters of um, proximity to what. Nope, I can't be racist because I don't even mind being around them. See, so that means I'm not racist. Like that's laughable because the I can be around, you know what I mean, a lot of stuff. That doesn't mean I like it. Like, I don't like, what don't I like? I don't like peanuts. I don't like the smell, or I mess with peanut butter, but I don't like peanuts. I can be around them all day long, but that doesn't mean that I like them. That doesn't mean that I tolerate them. That just means that, I can be in the presence. And like I said, I eat peanut butter, but that doesn't mean I want peanuts on all of my stuff. So, it's a very interesting thing because you see it all the time. And again, it's not the most egregious form of racism, but it's a strong microaggression, I think. And it speaks to a larger topic. If I were dating a woman who wasn't black or who wasn't part black, and she made statements to something to the tune of black people this or black people that, and like, ha ha he, I can say it because my boyfriend's black. She wouldn't have a black boyfriend for long. It wouldn't be me. I couldn't, without thoroughly investigating that, and she would have to, it almost wouldn't even be worth her time, because I would be probing for her to get to the root of why she found that to be funny, and why she found that being with me would be a pass of some sort, to say something, real offhanded like that. I don't make jokes like that because I don't think that they're funny. And like, you don't get a pass. You know how you can get a pass by being respectful and complimentary and acknowledging those cultures. I heard a comedian say one time that absolutely anything can be funny if you do it the right way. And I heard a person say that he was making a bunch of Native American jokes, but he was concerned that they were offensive. So he went to Native American communities and he talked to them, and he let them hear the jokes, and he did the jokes, and he wanted to know if they were offensive. And they said that, well, if you can get Native Americans to laugh, then it's probably not that offensive. But they talked to him about, the jokes, and he talked about where, what he was thinking when he wrote them, and they talked about how they felt about them. And it was more of a respect thing. It wasn't, it wasn't mean or vindictive or, just nasty. And I think that that's where it comes from. The jokes are, if those jokes don't come from a good place. And I don't think that people do the research like, oh, it's a good place because I'm with this person, so it must be a good place. Nah, not really. You can be with this person, you can love this person, and you can have all the best intentions in the world regarding this person, but that doesn't mean that a joke like that doesn't come from a dark place and come from somewhere negative. Or statements like that don't come from a dark place or somewhere negative. So I think that it's very important that you kind of examine yourself, especially if you're in a relationship like that where you feel like this person can give you access or a pass into those communities, culturally or ethnically. And I think it's very arrogant to presume that somehow that, oh, I've conquered this one, so that gained me access into the rest of the culture. No. To quote a comedian that I once heard when he was talking about a similar topic about a white woman dating a black guy, he said that that nigga, you don't know all niggas. So it's a very interesting statement. So I mean, hey, I don't know. I guess it's up for Brenda, in that case, Brenda Song, to decide if it was enough. And apparently, in my opinion, I don't think she did decide that it's enough. Or in every individual case, you have to decide that, is that enough to make you want to leave, or is it just just ha ha he didn't mean anything? Or, you know, is it a case of, culturally we are the same, so that joke didn't bother me any different than if an Asian person had made it? I don't know. A lot of stuff to think about, a lot of stuff to unpack, but stuff that I ponder. So you guys take it easy.